as I made a decision that basically for the drink and draws, we'll just do them in both places. So you get a little bit of an audience there.
Yeah, then y'all can watch the drawing as it happens.
Yeah. Now I'll be looking at you all for comments from time to time. So that's just kind of what we're doing here, and that's what we're seeing here, and that I can go back and forth. I'm almost a skilled multitasker and stuff. But as we were talking off the air, so there are things I still can't talk about on the air yet. But yeah,
humble brag. Here we go.
Well, I can't. There's no such thing.
No, but the stuff you can, just brag about it, dude. It's great news.
So it's official. I am teaching a podcast course for the SFA Academy. Details will literally be out tomorrow from my end. It's officially out and about, and people can register. So there are about 4 hours of content of me showing you how to do a podcast, audio, video. And as a little bonus, I also teach you guys how to make a basis for an audiobook, because I'm assuming that anyone that's going to take my course wants to know how to turn their novel into a book. And I will show you at least the first steps of how to do just that.
What's the FSA Academy?
That's long. So about July of last year.
Mm-hmm.
No, not July last year, just July. In July, I ended up getting contacted by some friends of mine and they were all put together and started. I've actually interviewed a few people in the academy for the last few months. I'm not naming names just yet because some of that's still, we're still announcing everything, and advertisements and stuff are about to happen. But the long and short of it is, I've been making this course since July, like June, July last year. Not last year, like this year. Pretty much filmed the first draft of the course August. I filmed the second draft of the course early October, just to correct some of the modules so that for quality. Turns out Windows Movie Maker is not very good when it comes to changing audio settings.
Didn't see that one coming.
Well, it was interesting because it was just like the ones I did here. Like I literally did some of this on my stream just as a way to quickly do it. But it was like the ones on the stream worked just perfectly. They did absolutely 100% perfect. And that's the thing, right? I had the ability to make it and work it. So those ones were fine. And then the ones where mostly the theory crafting ones, I had to redo, which wasn't a huge deal. My last module is all of 3 minutes. It's basically it's a challenge for anybody that gets through the whole course. It's a 3-minute thank you basically, and a little bit extra. But it officially launches this weekend. And so for anyone wanting to listen to it, I have a podcast course once again. And it's worth the money. At least I think so. So definitely check it out. Information will be forthcoming on that tomorrow. I got a book I'm launching in December. So I basically at this point I'm looking for like one more nice job, so I can actually just basically cover all my expenses for next month, and I can just worry about launching all my stuff. But
yes.
Yeah, but it's been this has been in the works for months. Like a lot of this stuff.
Yeah. That's you talked openly about 2 big wins. There's a third big win that you can't talk about, but I just want to put it out there that you are knocking it out of the ballpark, dude. I've been chatting with you for months, and it's really been building on itself, and it's good things come in threes, right? So you've definitely hit the trifecta. And I'm really proud of all the hard work that you've been putting in. It's paying off.
Oh, yeah. Well, thank you. And to everybody watching and listening, next Thursday, stay tuned. You'll know what the last thing is then. I cannot talk about it until that point.
Come back Thursday to find out, y'all.
Oh, I won't just talk about it. I'll show you. I promise. It's actually been, so it's been, and again, it's opened up some avenues. Like as you guys see behind me, there is a green screen. So there is a little bit of I'll give you a little hint. I've been doing a lot of video work for the last few weeks. It's been my biggest, it's remembering everything. Because I had done video. So my first video stuff was way back in 2000, I'm going to say 2007. Mm-hmm. Right. That's the first time I did video work. And that was pretty much it was me and a dude named Angel Cerritos. And Angel is a sweetheart of a dude. Like he's a total sweetheart of a dude. And but okay, so the worst nightmare was the guy that filmed this. The green screen stuff was never consistent. Like I think the one that's gonna haunt me for the rest of my life, I will never forget. Like while trying to edit and figure out how to fix it. He filmed some of this. Like imagine a window with like a green curtain, like this color.
Mm-hmm.
Theoretically, you can do that. It will work. However, it was at the front door of the school, at the parking lot, at night. I will never forget her as long as I live. All the cars pulling out, and all the headlights would actually color across.
Dang.
You can't fix that. There's nothing there's nothing you can do.
Oh, how campy.
I didn't film it. It was one of those situations where just like it was there. It was like
it's all just part of the aesthetic. We're going for a certain theme here.
We actually ended up not using the green screen for special effects. It was actually the lesser of two evils. It really I'm not kidding. It really was. My other one that was the favorite one, there was an interview section done. Person was not completely in the green screen. So they're literally, when we put the green screen effect on, they were cut in half. Like perfectly. Yeah, like this is everything not to do. I learned a lot about Premiere Pro. Like I learned an awful lot about Premiere Pro doing it at that time. So I've always had a little bit of the like video editing is kind of in the background. Well, now I'm doing it regularly. I got myself just basically a basic video editor. I got myself Cyberlink for the like a year license. Not the most sophisticated thing on the market, but not like the worst thing on the market either. Just somewhere in the middle, so I can do what I need to do for the episodes as needed. And yeah, it's just like I can comfortably make. We'll just say for the sake of argument, 15-minute videos are totally comfortable. So I'll probably be offering a service for people with Kickstarters.
Yes.
Starting next week, because I can do it. Like it's especially if I'm not doing the filming part of this, it doesn't take that long for me to do it. Right. It's again, muscle memory. It's like once you do some stuff, it's totally muscle memory. So, but you guys see it, like you guys see the business possibilities of that too. And also I love comics. So that would be like a dream. Hey, I get to make movies about comic books.
Yes. I'll totally put your name out there, because I'm connected with a lot of people who are up and coming with their comics or just their stories, right? You can do Kickstarters for books or movies or all these other things. And so I'd love to put your name out there and be like, hey, yo, contact Josh Pantelaresco. He's got your video skills.
That's right, because 2-minute videos are a lot easier than 15-minute videos. Let me tell you.
And that's all the attention span most people have. So
yeah, exactly. So it's just nice. But again, it's one of those things that you gotta have the confidence to go out there and do all this stuff too. And actually, that's the big thing I recognize when I'm looking at doing this stuff. Right, is that it really, like, the most basic mental tool is confidence.
Yeah, I mean, that's how you kind of separate yourself from everybody else, right?
Yeah.
For one person who does a pretty awesome thing, there's like 10,000 viewers who aren't doing it. And you just got to be that one person. And the difference between one and the other is that one person does and 10,000 people watch, which is fine. But you just got to be that one.
That's right. And I am the one. I will be one.
You are the one.
That's right. Now I have Highlander in my game. Here we are. Born to be king. I'm old.
That's over my head, buddy, but that's all right.
That's okay. So you can actually find it on YouTube. There is this show called Highlander the series. Now, listen, as far as the movies go, there is only one Highlander movie. There's only one. Do not go past the first one. Just don't. Don't
pass go. Do not collect $200.
No. People will. It will be brutal. It will be brutal if you watch it. It hurts to watch Highlander 2. It really hurt. Highlander 3 doesn't hurt quite so much.
Yeah. No, don't waste your time with sequels.
Don't
waste your time with sequels. Unless it's X-Men. Other than that, Spider-Man.
You've never seen The Godfather?
I reveal too much of myself now. No, I skipped all over The Godfather. Yeah, not my genre, dude.
Well, it may not be your genre, but that's one of those rare cases where the sequel is actually better than the original.
I'll take your word for that.
Yeah.
Lord of the Rings. But they were books beforehand, so they had a lot of that plot figured out. Harry Potter, they built on themselves. Highlander 2, I'm getting the feeling, not so much. Sharknado 2,
Sharknado doesn't try to be good, though. There's a difference.
You know what you signed up for.
Well, that's just it, right? It's all about expectations, right?
True that.
if I expect this over the top amazing movie, top to bottom, right, top to bottom, then I don't want the reveal to make no sense. If it's, let me give you like a movie that's really like weird and out there that makes, it's just a fun, it's a trippy movie. Literally, it's a trippy movie the whole way. Dude, where's my car? Right? It's literally remembering what happens.
I think I saw the first one, yeah.
Just the first one, right? That's such a trippy, fun movie because, again, if you sit there and you think too hard, it falls apart. But it's not meant for that. It's just meant you're going to go in there, you're going to unplug for like 2 hours, you're going to have fun with a stupid comedy. Mm-hmm. And that's fine. Like, if that's all you want to be. Sharknado was like, look, first off, that guy's an excellent salesman. Seriously. Sharks and tornadoes, someone bought that. Just think about that for a second, okay? Someone actually bought that. That can't knock that at all. Great salesman, right?
That says more about the salesman than anything else.
Oh, you mean the customer, not the salesman, right?
Well, you can, like, you don't need a good product to sell it well.
No.
But if you don't sell it well, who cares about the quality of the product?
Yeah, well, that's an interesting one. So, how book connection are you?
How
well read are you in books? Yeah,
I do mostly audiobooks, and I would consider myself middle of the road. Podcast also.
Okay, so for me, right? So the big one is for literary people is 50 Shades of Grey.
Never read it, don't intend to.
Good. You will laugh. Not when you should, but you will laugh. If you ever did. However, you can't knock success. That book has sold.
Same with Twilight.
Yep. Twilight is a better book. Like, it is legitimately a better book.
Wasn't 50 Shades supposed to be a spinoff on Twilight?
Kind of. It definitely goes in its own direction. It's a lot more about BDSM, or theoretically BDSM, than and based on my friends who are into BDSM, they emphatically say no. But hey, you know what? Who am I to judge? I am not here to again. The fact of the matter is, though, when you get right down to it, like, the book is not great, but she sold it incredibly well, and she hit the right place at the right time.
The market was there.
That's it.
Yep.
That's it, right?
The market was there for Sharknado. What was the next one? Like Sharkpedo or something?
I don't know.
Did I just have $1 million idea?
Possibly.
Somebody from Hollywood. I hope you're listening.
Well, you actually got to do the work and pitch it. Like, that's the thing.
That's my pitch.
That's my pitch. That is my pitch.
Take it or leave
it. Too much. It's too much like a pitch. Well, it's hilarious because I was thinking about this the other day. Like, we're talking about, because I got to launch a book, right? One guy actually put on his thing. It's like, I hate marketing. I just want to drink wine. And I'm thinking to myself, why not just make that part of your commercial?
Yeah.
Just throw a fucking party.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you don't have to act. You know what? Commercials don't have to make sense. They haven't made sense since I was a kid, right? They don't have to make sense. So they just have to be entertaining. So come up, get drunk and do stupid shit. I mean, people will still buy your stuff if you're entertaining enough.
It appeals to a certain kind of market. No matter what you do, somebody's going to like it. I had this idea for an ad, right? And I'm not an ad person, but right. So we're talking about Verizon here. Okay. A goat eats a Verizon cell phone, right? And takes it to the top of a mountain, and it gets a phone call, and it's on automatic answer. And it's like, can you hear me now? And it's on top of the mountain. Okay. $1 million right there. Bring it on, Hollywood. Okay.
That's not Hollywood. That's an advertising agency. And honestly,
bring it on, New York.
That's right. You call it New York. You go, bring it. Bring it. Right? Just because that's just the way it goes, right? It's one of those situations. Pardon me real quick. It's just one of those situations. You just got to understand, like, advertising and storytelling. It's honestly, it's storytelling that wants you to connect and say, let's buy shit. Let's just buy the shit.
Everything, honestly, is storytelling. Just different type of storytelling.
Yeah. So
our conversation right now is storytelling.
Oh, absolutely. We're BSing about terrible movies and terrible ads that have made money in spite of themselves. It seems to be the theme of the first 15
we are
minutes.
Storytelling creatures. Ads are not above that.
Ads are the best ads are about that. The question about that is, do you make it actually part of what you're trying to promote, or are you going to just do? I don't feel like I just want to get drunk. I mean, you can do that commercial if that's what you want to do, right? And
it's going to appeal to whatever market.
Yeah, you just like, what are you after? What are you going to go for, and what are you going to try to do? I'm thinking about advertising a lot now, partly because I'm about to launch a book digitally, but at the same token, like I'm also thinking ahead to the springtime because I want to do a Kickstarter for the Alice books.
Mm-hmm.
So how am I going to market it? How am I going to market this? You know,
and not just that, right? If you're doing this podcast course, a lot of one of the ways that you can enhance a course is to give your clients the next steps. And so the next step could be, well, now that you've done it, how do you market it, right?
Yeah.
And that is something that kind of gets them on the hook for something else. So if you can spin or enlighten them that marketing is storytelling and then take it from there, and then if you have that marketing lens with your clients who you're talking about doing the Kickstarter stuff with, you're going to be doing it with Alice 1. So if you can do that again, if you can replicate success for next people, you can just add that into your benefits and sell your services that way.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, it's funny. Like, and that's the last thing too. I think, and then we'll get into drawing some weird and wacky. I haven't decided what I'm going to draw in that yet. I'm debating a couple things, whether to do Final Fantasy 14 or try. I have a manga here called Grand Blue Fantasy. I'm a big fan of. I might try something there.
Never heard of it.
I haven't figured it. Yeah, it's okay. It's one of those obscure ones that I play a certain collectible card game, and those characters just show up, and I'm less like, okay, get marketing. I want to know the story of these characters, so I went and found the story of these characters. All right, it made me, the way to market to me is to make me curious about it, because you make me curious about it, I'm going to go at least look. I still might not leap, but you want people to look,
right?
So
that's hook.
It's hook. You want to hook them, so it's like it's a quiet little cross promotion. It's like, hey, the same company that plays the game I like to play uses a lot of these characters in the cards, but there's actually a story about this. Let's take a look. Okay, and then that ties to one of my all-time favorite video games, like all time, is linked into this. So it's like, okay, so this is made for me. Dang it.
Right? Which video game are you talking about?
Final Fantasy VI.
Sorry. Yes, indeed. Oh yeah, Advent Children. That wasn't 6, was it?
No. That's 7. That's 7. Yeah. That's 7. 7's good. I like 7, but 6 was my first Final Fantasy game, and well, the bad guy wins.
Yep. I never played it. I only watched it, and that was Advent Children, so a little over my head again. But I do love it when a villain wins, at least in the prelude, because then you got them on the hook for the sequel, right?
Well, actually, so 6 doesn't have Sephiroth in it. It's a different villain. He's a psycho. He's a complete social psychopath. Halfway through the game, he blows up the world. He actually succeeds.
One does.
Yeah, he actually succeeds. It doesn't fail. It actually goes as planned. So then the first half of the game is like builds up to that moment, and then the second half of the game is what happens after. Right? In a world of in a world literally called a world of ruin. Well, how does life go on? And the answer is life does go on in a variety of different ways.
Is that why Advent Children has the setting it does?
No, Advent Children's a different. So that's Final Fantasy VII. That's Final Fantasy VII.
Right.
So Final Fantasy VII is a lot more environmental. Final Fantasies generally have the stakes of the fate of the world is always at stake in some form of their worlds, whatever that might be. It's always at stake in some way. But what makes seven probably is the more complete game, like by far in terms of playability, fun. The remake, they took it and expanded more, but even the original game is super addicting because you can do all kinds. They have a system that's so versatile. You can have fun, engaging characters, neat. I would say the first 2 discs of the game are really good in terms of storytelling. It kind of loses it towards the end of the second disc a little bit, but it's still pretty good. And the characters are really fun and relatable, and the game's really is worth playing. And you get to the end of the game, you feel like you have this great experience. And a lot of people will say 7 is the it's the pinnacle of Final Fantasy. Some people would tell you it's 6. I like 6 better, but guess because it's my first game. If I were to be perfectly honest, probably 7 is the better game. Although I'm always going to be a fan of 6. Some people like 8. Some people like 9. Final Fantasy franchise changed when it got to 10. Partly new systems, they could do more, but they experimented with how the games are played. I'm like one of 5 people that like 13. Like, right. It's okay.
We all get together and we just talk about how great 13 is, and let me tell you, it's only us 5.
Yes, that's right. No, it's the thing is, storytelling wise, I loved what they did with the game. Like, from the story, it fits, but as a game, I see why people were so annoyed at it. I totally did, because it's not, the game's linear, which is not normal for a Final Fantasy. Not completely. Like, there's a certain linearity in Final Fantasy games, but there's a point where you can go off and explore the world. For the most part in this game, you can't until near the very end of the game. Which, story-wise, like the story being told, it makes perfect sense. Actually, it's actually very well thought of.
Yeah, it's almost like an interactive book.
Yeah, but when you get to that part of the game, it's amazing. Like, the depth and things you can do is absolutely incredible. It's not, like, no joke. The extra stuff is in, like, they put a lot into that. They made sure that when you finally got to explore, it was worth your while to do it, right? But the problem with a game like that is again, that because that experience was so different. It was like, again, I see why people don't like the game. I totally get it. I liked it because it fit the story it was trying to tell perfectly. It's one of those things where the concept and the game do fit, but maybe it shouldn't have been a Final Fantasy game. Maybe it should have been something else. And that's
sure. Or appeal to a different audience.
Yeah,
if
exactly.
you rebranded it as something else, you would have attracted a different audience. And we're back to expectations, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's what it comes down to, right? So 14's the online MMO. I will never play because I'll never leave my computer ever again, and that's not a good thing.
Noted.
Yeah. And I haven't played 15, so I can't comment about it. But basically, 12 is completely autopilot. They have a system, like the game system, you can literally autopilot the whole system, and so you don't even have to play the game to beat the game. It's kind of sad, actually.
Yeah, why buy it?
Yeah. Yeah, it's just it, right? Like, games need interactivity. That's the games need interactivity to play. 13 has interactivity. It's just the path is linear, which is, again, for the game. I get it, but still, I understand why people hate it. 12, you have the right commands in. Like, you literally, it's almost like programming. Like, you put the right commands in, because that's basically has a game system, so it can auto do some things when certain things happen. And it's like, oh God, right? It's like, oh God, like, you don't have to play anything. You don't have to press any buttons. You don't even have to walk. You just basically, there comes a point in the game where it's just like, I don't have to do anything. There are places where you can accidentally, like, level up all the way through without actually touching a single thing. You can literally,
what is going on?
Yeah, that's messed up, right? It's messed up.
What is the point?
Yeah. Could have been a great game, but that system ruined that game, because it was just like, it's autopilot, and now I don't have to play it.
Yeah.
Right.
And we're back to interactivity. You're looking for something to do, not something to be done and you just watch.
Yes. If I wanted that, I'd turn television on. Right? Right? That's
many things, yes.
Yes. I'd turn television on. If I wanted to do something, that's the thing, right? Games require interactivity. It can be simple. It can be a simple thing. But what the important thing about a game is, you have to convince the other person doing it that what you do matters.
Sure.
Right?
You know, I'm gonna geek out a little bit, and it's related. But I'm gonna geek out, if I may interrupt.
Go for it.
So, like, we're talking about different storytelling, how everything's storytelling, right? The conversation, it's very interactive. It takes two to have this conversation. It's still storytelling. When you watch something on TV, a lot of the time you're a passive observer of this storytelling, but you still get exposed to it with games. It's super interactive. I'm into comics, right? And people might think that comics are really not that interactive as a storytelling medium, but it takes the reader to input their own expectation. I don't know if you've read Scott McCloud's Making Comics, right? But he has a chapter in there about what happens in between the panels, right? So to get from one panel to another, the reader has to put their own expectations out there. You can have totally different outcomes based on the reader's expectation or what they think is the outcome of two different panels.
So the book you're referring to, ladies and gentlemen, is called Understanding Comics. If you ever get into the comic industry, that book is required reading. I would actually say it's required reading. It's number one on my list.
Absolutely.
Right. It's number one on my list. So the second book on the list, you have a choice. Most people have heard the first one. Not many people have heard the second one. It's either Watchmen or American Flag.
Or Eisner.
Nah, Eisner's great to study, but I would argue here's the thing about Watchmen and American Flag.
I did Watchmen already, but go for
it. Yeah. Watchmen literally explores inside of that whole story almost everything you can do with a comic. It's not so much the dialogue is a little dated, and I only say a little bit because at this point there are a lot of people that do comics today that do great dialogue, and I there's a lot of people that do that well.
Oh man, so much dialogue. It was so wordy.
Yeah. But the fact is, like, if you look at what Moore did with Watchmen, the stories within the stories, the magazine articles, the little, like, all these little pieces to the story that he
what's
added.
Happening in the background.
Yeah, and the story within the story too, right? Which was so well done. So you're looking at all this stuff. You're seeing how this is done. American Flag does the same thing. It's not as well known because, unfortunately, American Flag came out in the same year as Watchmen and as this other book called and it was competing with another well-known book called The Dark Knight Returns from this Frank Miller guy. So all those books came out in the exact same year. Like that's
a good year for comics.
Yeah, that was one. That was art, and I almost forgot there was another really great book too called Crisis on Infinite Earths by Mark Wolfman and George Perez. So that was an amazing year of comics all the way around. And yeah, so if you're going to make the argument that if you want to look at great books from great creatives, like, that era is amazing. But I would argue, if you're looking at it from the textbook of how to construct a story, Watchmen or American Flag. American Flag's not as well known, so it might be easier. Then it might be harder to come across. But Howard Chaykin really, like, that was his best work. It was just unfortunate when he ran into the buzzsaws that were Alan Moore, Dave Gibbons, and Frank Miller.
He just waited till next year.
But it wasn't how it was. Again, it isn't how it works, right?
But if only.
Yeah. But I mean, those, like, you need one of those two books. Eisner is a great creator. I'm not saying he's not, but I don't know if he's done anything with all of that packed into one. He's done different things. I meant
as an instruction manual. He's got his own comics.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, no, absolutely. No, I'm talking like if you really just want to figure out the bones of how to build a comic, understanding comics, pick one, Watchmen or American Flag. And then it depends on where you are in the industry. If you're a writer, there's a couple other ones you can do. Like, for example, there's Right or Wrong from Dirk Merring, which is a pretty good guide on how to write comics, how to get started breaking into the industry. It's a pretty good book. It holds up relatively well. Today, it's a little old, but not that old. So Dirk was a little ahead of his time. I would argue, like, and the last thing I think I would, if I were trying to get into comics today, the last thing I'd be looking up is how to figure out Kickstarter or Indiegogo.
Yes.
I more than the craft itself, like, it's that we live in an age today where we don't need to. I had this, like, really weird thought about, like, 2 months ago when actually it started to hit me when my one book was nominated for an award. But the thing I remember about that is I did not go to I did not go into get an award. Like I didn't get an award from a publisher. This was just me putting something out there. And then I realized I don't know what a mainstream publisher can offer me. They can offer me some things. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's zero.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're looking at it from terms of recognition, connections, things of that nature, like traditional publishing, no matter what angle you go, it's just a niche like any other. You don't actually need it to have a great career. And it made me realize something very important. It gave me a very interesting little bit of leverage. I don't need to actually be in the mainstream industry to be recognized in the industry or get paid from the industry.
Mm-hmm.
So I can give less of a shit. And that's important when you negotiate.
Yeah. If you can find a way to do what you want to do with, like, there's a market for everything. There's an audience for everybody. And if you can find that market, you're set. What the publisher and that industry is doing is basically making you marketable to the widest, to the easiest audience, right? The audience that they have dialed in, that they know all about. But if you're willing to do your own market research and to put in the time to figure out what they're looking for or to match what you're doing to that audience, you don't need to have that publisher, because there's that next part, right? If you can do your own crowdfunding,
Mm-hmm.
you're self-sustaining your business. And we've talked about this before. Creativity is a business when you want to make money off of it. You can have it as a hobby, but if you want to make money, you got to think of it like a business. So that's when you're selling a product, which is what the book is, what any creative business creates, you need to have all the other people involved. And that includes manufacturers and the distributors and the people who know other people who sell, all that kind of stuff. If you're willing to do all of that and wear all those hats, good luck to you. It's possible. It's going to take a lot of work and research, but you're
too.
golden. And I know that you already know this, but this is also for the listeners, right? I want them to get something out of this. Yeah.
Oh,
it's possible, y'all.
Oh, no, it is possible. And also sometimes they'll come to you. Like that's the other thing too. At this point in time, they might just come to you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing. Like you can make a compelling enough product where no one questions it at all.
You can't hide good stuff. It will catch fire online.
Yeah, eventually. Now, sometimes it might be a while before you find that good stuff. It's like, but yeah, eventually that's just how it works. And then suddenly you got a following. You had no idea how you got it. It's like, oh, okay, that's
what
cool.
It all takes is time, repetition, the numbers. You're playing the numbers game. You're playing variables. What does this market respond to, right? And that takes time to do, or it takes repetition. And if you're not going to do more repetitions in a short amount of time, you're spending more time trying to figure it out. But if you can do that, it's only a matter of time.
Yeah, that's right. And also, as an important thing to create, like what I've been doing, just keep diversifying, right? Mm-hmm. Figure out what you do well, which case I have an incredibly big mouth. And it's
I'm a talker, y'all. Okay.
But hey, it has led me to a lot of different doors because I'm willing to talk. It's striking me. It's odd because I look around and I see some very creative people who legitimately are more talented than I am. But going back to something I said at the very beginning, it's about belief, right? It's totally about belief. You have to be looking at the things, like the path to wherever you want to go is literally towards the things that make you the most uncomfortable. This is what I've learned in this life is your prisons, your fears and your insecurities and the things you're uncomfortable dealing with are usually your salvations to the way out. Like you want to figure out the path to your freedom right through the doors. The doors you created.
Comfort zone is stagnation. If you're okay being stagnant, be okay. But if you're trying to grow, you can choose which direction you want to grow in, but growing is uncomfortable. No matter what you do.
Yeah. And then eventually you realize at some point, like I realized at some point that shit, I gotta believe in myself at some point because the only way this shit's gonna happen. Right? That is how it works. That is the quote unquote magic bullet to this.
People can smell when you're uncomfortable, dude, and when you're not confident in your abilities, and people don't really root for you, right? I'm sorry, I can't hear you. I think your mic went out. Still can't hear you. Hi, everybody. I'm just going to monologue for a little bit. You got to believe in yourself. Nope, still can't hear you.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Perfect.
All right.
Welcome back, everybody.
Yeah, so welcome back. I am very skilled and coordinated, as you see, trained here.
He's so confident in his coordination, you didn't even notice that the mic went out.
Yeah, well, I hit the plug. It's like, crap. I hit the plug. I gave away my first art book to my grandmother. So just for people's sake, I'm currently in Canmore, Alberta, which I made Shani a little jealous when I told her where I was. She's like, "Your views are awesome." Yeah, you don't want you want to see my backyard, and you don't want to see my backyard.
You said you were in the mountains. How can you have a bad day in the mountains?
You really can't. Like, I was outside earlier. Like, we had snow today, right? And I'm looking out. I've never seen anything like this. Like the misty mountains, snow, all that stuff. So they're almost invisible, right? But when you do see them get up close, you get close-ish to one of them, I should say. You see like this stream, like almost like a sea of white coming down the water. It's almost like a waterfall coming down the mountain.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it really is. No, it was.
Oh my God.
Like I said, you would be like, you would look out my window right now. And you're like, I hate you so much, right? Because like this is what I wake up to every day now, and it's kind of great. I didn't expect to end up here. I was supposed to be back in Calgary, but it ended up just working out that here's where I'm at for the time being. Who knows? Like the one thing I will say is I don't actually miss a big city. Like when you're out here, you don't really miss it.
You don't say.
Yeah, you don't miss it. You're like, yeah, you don't say it. Tears in her eyes.
Turning a little green, everybody. Look away.
Look away. I'm a little jealous because how do you do this? And again, it's just one of those by accident. I just knew that, like, with all respect to Windsor, Ontario, it was oddly frustrating in some ways because again for me it was like almost going back to something I've been through before, and I'm just not that guy anymore. I've become something else, and yeah. So I'm like if you had to go back to where you started.
Nope.
It's like, nope. Yeah. Can't do it.
I only have one direction. I go forward. Yeah. The Shani bus only moves that way. Okay.
Sometimes I will say this. Sometimes going back is okay. A little bit. It depends
on where back is.
Yeah. It's true. It is true. There's some places I will never live again. Like I just know deep down, just no.
I left that Shani in that area. That Shani doesn't. That area doesn't. No, we are going one way.
Yeah. No, like I said, it was great. I got to see my family for a long time, and that's cool. I enjoyed that. By and large, I really, really enjoyed that time in that place. But when you get right down to it, right, you just recognize the fact that it wasn't going to be me forever. And it was when I did do some temp work here and there, it was just incredible. It's like, what are your dreams? And you're like, I'm going to work here the rest of my life. And I looked around and I was like, and again, I'm not here to judge anybody. I mean, there is definitely there are exceptions to that. But
let's define what dreams are, though.
Yeah.
What's your reality? I'm going to be here the rest of my life. But what's your dream? I'm going to be here the rest of my life? Two very different things.
Oh no, it was like, and I heard that from quite a few people. And the other thing too, I also recognize is bosses did not know what to do with me anymore.
Yeah, you outgrew them too.
Yep. They couldn't. It's really hard to intimidate somebody who openly doesn't care. It's kind of.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Without me, this business is useless. Without this business, I'm okay.
Yes. It's like, I'm okay without you. I don't need you to be here to make my life better or for worse. And that's when you realize, like, at this point, it's like you can't go back. You there's only forward, as you say. But for me, it's like working for somebody. like in terms of a long-term employment position, I don't know if I have that in me anymore. And
yeah, you've had a taste for something different.
yeah,
And
and yeah, and that's it. It's hard. I mean, could I, under the right circumstances? I think so, but it'd have to be something really amazing. I couldn't do it for just like I did it before.
I'll be a
Right.
barista in Hawaii, sure.
Yeah. You know what? Actually, it's one of the few jobs I probably wouldn't mind doing if it was just like a couple days a week. Is a barista, believe it or not, very low stress.
You know how much like they got money for tattoos, dude? They are A-okay.
Yes.
I would love to be a barista just to get a sleeve.
Just to get a sleeve? Yeah.
Worth it. Hey, I'm gonna start sharing my screen.
Go for it. Go for it. No, I say this because it's one of those things I recognize about myself. It's just like you gotta know who you are and who you're not. And for the most part, for me, Windsor was I met a lot of people who weren't ready for who weren't ready for. Let's turn the screen on, ladies and gentlemen. Ooh, talk about that. We'll talk about that, I'm sure, in a bit. But there just comes a point where you just recognize with yourself that you're just not that person, and there's nothing wrong. By the way, and I need to emphasize this a lot for some people. There's nothing wrong if what you really want is already there. That's fine. Like I'm not that guy, but that doesn't mean my path is the right path either. It's just my path, right? You got to make those decisions for yourselves, ladies and gentlemen. But do keep in mind that the thing you really want is going to be there, no matter like in your head, no matter what. You won't be able to run and hide from it at all. And the last thing you want to do in this life, the last thing you want to do is like get to the end of it and go, well, what if?
That will hurt. And I think it's important with what you had said about knowing who you are and what you want, right?
Yeah.
Even if you don't know who you are or don't know what you want is still there. And maybe you're okay with not knowing what it is. Maybe that is what you want, just like float and be you and just, going with the flow. You are living what you want. But as soon as you figure out who you are, it's my understanding as I get older, like age is the stripping away of what's not important to you anymore. And it is the layering of what is important to you. I think experience does the same thing too, right? So it's not just age. So the more experience you get, the older you get, the more you realize who you are and what you want, and then you can just go out and find it. It's sitting there waiting for you.
Yep. For the most part, I agree with you. The only thing I will say is people that just want to float by. That only works for I think for the most of us till a certain point too. What we gotta trying to figure things out. There's no how do I put this? There's no shame in taking your time to figure things out. We all need. That takes as long as it's going to take. That there's no magic. There's no magic way of doing that. But at some point you're going to hear a voice in your head that goes, "You know what? That's you." And you can fight it if you want, or not.
I'm ready to be me now.
Yeah. Well,
time out. Sorry, time out. Art question, right? I'm doing Inktober. It's a different prompt every day. The one I'm working on is tomorrow's prompt, and it is slither. Of course, I'm thinking a snake in the grass, right? But my whole monthly challenge has been character design. Okay. A character that slithers.
That's not a snake?
That's not a snake. Maybe a humanoid character. What would a humanoid character that slithers look like?
Well, you can. Well, it depends. You make somebody like Gollum is a character that can slither. You could do that very easily with him, right? Because he's got that like inside him where he's just like, I'm this being who has become, like, his savagery pretty much eat away at his intelligence and civility as time has gone on.
He's kind of sneaky.
Yeah, there's a certain snake-like tendency with him, right? This is just one example off the top of my head. It's not the only one you can definitely use, but like, or hell, if you want to go like Disney, there's Jafar. Jafar's got certain snake-like tendencies too, actually. So.
And then that one guy from Monsters Inc., right? He's kind of a sneaky guy or snake-like guy.
Yeah. So the trick is it's giving human beings those characteristics, like maybe make the eyes a little bit more slitted, make again it's all in personality, right? It's not in like the she's got like no arm. My character here, like no arms, oh, no definition whatsoever.
Well, maybe I could do no arms.
Yeah, you can. But I mean, no, you can do like here's the thing about like a snake-like character, right? Is you gotta again, like what are the characteristics of a snake that you feel comfortable sharing with people, right? And that is for everybody is a little different, right? You can do you can focus on the eyes, the tongue, hell, even the tongue, right? You can give it a certain snake-like quality. Hell, make it like you want to make it a little exotic and a little like like forbidden fruit aspect. Create a very vivacious character with a very like memorable tongue. It will definitely get people's attention. But there's definitely like a snake-like, get luring their prey into their doom kind of deal there too.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, there's lots of ways of doing it. But again, the story again. How do we associate with the snakes? What? When do people slither? They're not usually in dominant positions. They're usually in some form of submissive position, right? So what are they submitting to? Right, and that's kind of that's my thought, just off the top of my head. That's how I would do it. It's not the only way to do it, mind you.
Well, now I'm getting this idea of like maybe I could have this snake-like creature. It kind of like a naga. I'm pretty sure naga is a human snake hybrid.
Yes.
And it's just got this lantern on a dark path, and somebody's walking by. Do hi. And oh, look, a light. Nothing bad ever happens around a light in the dark. And then here's this snake person, naga human, just waiting for them. So I think that's where we're gonna go.
You're drawing a naga. Well, there's nothing wrong with drawing a naga.
You are?
No, I'm drawing a fairy. I'm trying to draw a fairy.
Maybe your fairy should be what my naga here is luring.
Maybe. I don't know. My
Let's get this part started.
Yeah. It's also funny too. I think one of the so it was funny. Someone in my family sent me a birthday card this year. And it was funny to me because I always talk about the fact on my podcast. She listens to my podcast. That I don't want to live an ordinary life, whatever that sounds like.
Yeah.
Well, it was funny because so the day I get this card from her, right? I get this card from her. It was funny. I just signed my contract for the gig I cannot talk about. So
the big number 3 that he'll talk about next Thursday, y'all.
Yeah. So, but the funny thing was for me was like they went to me, well, you gotta be realistic, whatever that actually is. I have no idea.
You're realistic, all right.
Yeah, well, basically. And it's like, so I'm looking at this and I'm listening to her. It's like, it's like if it's one of those like unbelievable moments in my life where I just realize how far I've come. I still can't do breast to save my life, but that's okay.
Practice makes perfect, dude.
Yeah, that's all right. First fairy attempt. Do another one.
Going?
Yeah, sure. I'll show it. Give me a second here as I shut your screen down for a second here. First fairy attempt wasn't great. Wasn't bad.
All right. Okay. Which character is this?
From Final Fantasy 14.
The fairy.
Yeah.
I love the wings.
Yeah, the wings are good. I was really like, no, the wings I got nailed down. Some of the other stuff I got to work on, but like the wings, the wings like came to me really easy. When I saw the wings, I was like, okay, that I can do. That I can totally do.
Yes.
But the rest of her, it's like, well, part of it too is I don't have a full close up to her, so like some of her details aren't as clear. Maybe I can find a better picture of her. But yeah, no, her wings were just so. Let's try that.
I'm back to you've got like an oil painter mindset where you work in shapes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I work in shape. Like it was the very first lesson I actually got in art. Actually, believe it or not, was that like look at the shapes. You can break a shape down. You can draw it, right?
That's right.
Yeah, and that's life in general too. If you can. Oh, I found a better picture of her, so I actually might be able to make a better version of her. So,
excellent.
Yeah, I couldn't see her face up close, so it definitely made it really hard to like pick out features there. So, I'll go back now to your image here as you're doing the evil Naga of evil.
Watch out, world! Here it comes.
It'd be really cool with yours since we're talking about dark alley stuff. There, you should actually have like almost like a human looking, the human part of the Naga stepping into the light, trying to entice something to come in, and you just showed the hint of the tail.
Maybe I can do like a funky arm thing where it's like, the arm here. It's going to take some reaching, but
hey, it's all about being a little creative, right? You want to do something a little different. I'm challenging you to do something a little different, right? So that's what I'm doing. But no, like I say, it was just interesting to me. It's just like that more than anything else actually convinced me it was time to walk away from Windsor, Ontario. Was that birthday card? It's like
do refocus your reality, give up on your dreams. Happy birthday.
Pretty much. It was like, okay,
I'm getting the fuck out, dude.
Yeah, dude. It's just one of those. It was just one of those like little moments in my life where I just was like, okay. But like I said, you go on this journey. You recognize. I mean, I recognize this too. There are people who have been way more published than me, that have gone farther than me, and I've walked away from this too. It's hard. It really is.
And everybody, if they don't share your vision, they're going to tell you how to do something that you don't want to do because they think it's the best to do what they think you're trying to do. But until they know what your vision is, they don't know what's best for you. But they do care enough to be like, hey, are you sure maybe this would be easier?
Yeah. I mean, it would just kill me. It would just kill me. There are lots of ways to die in this world, and one of the best is to look at what is and isn't possible, and just accept that what is and isn't possible. Right. So, I look at it. I looked at that and just said, you know what? I'm just not that person. I'm just not, and I'm okay with that. By the way.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where you just look at it and go, okay.
Well, every decision and every opportunity is a chance to figure out who you are and who you're not. And if you were somebody else, you may have taken family member, grandma, up on their advice.
No, not grandma. Not actually grandma. I won't name it names. So it's like not actually grandma. Right. It's
family member up on their advice and been like, yeah, okay, you're right. I'm this kind of person, not that kind of person. And it would have defined you. So a lot of times we think that these important make it or break it moments of who we are as people come in on shiny horses with like a light from the heavens. And really it's in these benign decisions of do I stay or do I go now? Right? Who are you as a person? Are you going to be the person who follows your dreams, or is your dream all that surrounds you right now?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I mean, and like I said, and going back to something I'm gonna repeat this just so everybody understands. There's nothing wrong with making a career working for a company ever. But the question you have to ask yourself then, right? Even if you do have other obligations behind you, is what example are you going to make for the people in your life? Because they are going to on some level follow that example. And what I recognize in this life is, I mean, we don't always get to do it what we want when we want to. That does we don't have full say in that sometimes. But what tends to happen is, and it doesn't matter what your obstacles are, if you are looking for a reason to succeed, to find a way to do something, it usually shows up some point, right? You just gotta be willing to embrace that opportunity in that moment, and you can't be afraid to be to look foolish in the process of doing it, right? So, and that's kind of how I've viewed things. It's just like there's a period when we suck, but
Yeah.
if you survive that period, yeah, you can do things that you never would have believed was possible. Like if you had told me a year ago I've been drawing with people like you on my show.
Ah.
No, it's serious. I never anticipated, like, this whole show has been always a ride for me to figure out what's going to happen, where it's going to go, right? And oftentimes I just happen to be as much a part of that, much of trying to figure that out as everybody else, right? Right, and that's kind of what, like, how I've seen this is there's a and that here I am drawing with people like you. I've drawn like just some people I've seen and hung out with, and I had my sister come on the podcast for the first time ever drawing with me.
Yeah.
Last week, that was hilarious.
You finally convinced her after like a year.
No, it was just one of those like let's have some fun kind of things, and she's my sister and I love her and all that stuff, and the opportunity was there. That's interesting. She's kind of like the way to draw her to get the best out of her. She's kind of like my character. She's kind of like a flower petal. Like inside her, there's like a flower. Like her dress is almost like a flower. So,
how about that? Didn't even see that one coming.
Yeah.
And that's like quintessential to what we're saying right now. You don't know what's going to happen until you try it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You're talking about flower petal design here. You didn't see it coming, but because you were doing it, that's what happened. That's exactly the case.
That's right. Now, I'm not saying, again, do I think I'm at the point where I could like offer prints to make a living doing this? Not yet. But could it happen? Yeah, it could. Right? Yeah, it could. I mean, I definitely have improved quite a bit since I've started, for sure. And that's in this time she was so different. I didn't get her face quite right, but she was better for sure this time around. And very, very interesting how love her wings. Her wings are fun to draw.
Are you sharing?
Yeah, I am when it's done. When it's done.
Okay, no worries.
When it's done, I will share. I promise. But no, it's just like, but what it comes down to ultimately is you got to come to that point in your life where you just believe you can make things happen. And when you do that, when you actually can do that, things happen. That has always been the way these things go. And you don't, and it's not easy because the universe does do a lot of "are you sure" moments with this kind of career. Are you sure you want to do this?
Yep.
And sometimes it's like, what? No, I have no idea. And there are still some days you wake up, you're like, what am I doing with my life? Right? But
you know, I hear what you're saying with that last part, right? I've definitely been in those moments. But the
Yeah,
more I'm sticking to this, the easier I'm finding workarounds, right? And so, like, if you do stick with it, the means to your ends make themselves obvious.
eventually, yes. Like eventually, it does take time, and you definitely go through. Again, a big thing about this journey is it's trial and error. You're going to go through a lot of rejection from lots of people, and it's just the way it goes because they're looking again. They're trying to get as much eyes on whatever they're doing as much as possible. But if you're willing to go through the process,
You
you
know,
learn
I've been
something.
reaching out to publishers and to agents, you know, so that I can get clients through their network and all that. And so one of the things I heard when I first got started here was that you got to reach out to over 100 publishing houses before you find the one that's going to work for you. And I'm talking about authors, not illustrators, right?
Yeah,
Different
yeah.
game. But it's not because your work isn't good. It's because everybody has a different goal and a different audience, a different market, and maybe your voice just isn't what they're looking for. This is all to say that you may have a lot of no's, but it's not because what you're doing isn't good or you're not worthy or worth it. It's because you haven't found your place yet.
Yep.
Your place is out there. You just got to find it. It doesn't come to you unless,
Yes.
I don't know, you're a
Sometimes.
secret manifester.
Well, no, it does sometimes actually. That
It
is
does
a serious.
sometimes, he says.
No, do you know the story how I got my first book published?
You wrote a book, so that it didn't come to you. You wrote it.
No. Oh, let me
Okay,
tell
let's
you.
hear it.
Let me tell you my story,
Let's
because
hear it.
my story will make you go. Maybe it does come to you sometimes. Sometimes it is meant to be.
Of course, there's exceptions to everything, and you may be the exception.
Oh, I was. There's no doubt about that. I was. I'm living proof that if you do things, good things can happen just by putting stuff out there. Because my master plan for this book was write the book, hire an illustrator. That kind of worked out magically too, and then publish it on Smashwords and occasionally print books out just for like events and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
There's no other big plan. I had no plan of getting traditionally published, and what ended up happening was I did the book, did all this stuff,
Mm-hmm.
I put it on Smashwords. I tell the world I released the book. Not sure what to expect because it's like I had no expectations, right? So I get an email later on the day I released it. Actually, I get an email, and they go to me. Okay, it's someone I interviewed a long time ago. She goes, I really liked your book. Oh, I said, thank you. What are you going to do with it? And I basically told her, I told you. So then she goes to me, well, listen, I just got a deal with Ingram, and I'm going to be starting a publishing house. I'll publish your book.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah. It does
But
come to you.
as you know, that's an excellent story. You've proved my point, though. It didn't just come to you. You first had to interview that person, so you had to set up what all the building blocks to be able to interview
But it
people.
wasn't,
You had to write the book. You had to put it out there.
but I'm going to tell you something. The amount of people that have had that happen to them is
Rare.
It's not a big number. It's not a big number.
You laid out your success by making those connections,
Oh,
right? One of the things I learned in college, it's not about what you know, it's about who you know. And
somewhat, yeah.
that's not like nothing really matters. Don't try to be good at anything because your connections will do all the work for you. It's that there are experts in every kind of thing, so you don't need to be an expert in everything, right? It's about who you know, who can fill in the blanks. And what you did to guarantee your success was know the right person who saw it at the right time. If you didn't put yourself out there, if you hadn't worked on the book, it wouldn't have come to you at all.
No, it
If
wouldn't.
you had listened to your family members' advice, hey, maybe you should just give up on everything, it wouldn't have happened. Of course, that's a different time period, right? But it's that kind of mentality of just be okay with the reality you got because this is as good as it
Well,
gets.
I would go though a little deeper onto this, and it's this. Okay, you create opportunities yourself by doing stuff. This is true.
Absolutely.
This is true. However, I would argue that the real skill to learn isn't that you create opportunities for yourself. You do that all the time. It's recognizing the opportunities when they present themselves to you.
Absolutely.
Right? That is a much bigger issue than I think a lot of people realize. And that's not much better. Although I like this one better, although it's still not quite what I'm going for. I'm going to change her wings slightly. Give me a second here. You want to see number 2?
Oh, sure. 1 second.
Number 2.
Hey, yes.
Not bad. The wings.
Not bad.
Not bad. I could do this a little better, I think, but still, it's one of those things where I figured out some things and then I shifted other things. And it was just like, so look at this, folks. The wings are amazing, but also I didn't have as good a picture as I did now. The wings were the best thing I saw, so therefore I did that.
This one's got cool hair.
Yes. Because I could see the shapes of the hair, I could see the shapes of the face a lot more, so I was able to do more with it. But this leads to but see, it's the paradox of success in the sense that I very easily could have done everything and nothing would have happened there. Not like that anyway. That was in of itself just a right place, right time, right circumstances, right.
Exactly.
Right. There was a lot of luck involved. But here's like what I did do well, and this to your point, I prepared for the possibility.
Yep.
That's what I did well. And that's really, I mean, this isn't just an art thing. This is a life thing, right? Prepare for the possibilities of success. That is far more important than wondering about failure, wondering about those moments of doubt. Fuck that. No, prepare that you're going to succeed. And on top of that, once you do that, prepare to stay successful. Figure out how you got here. Figure out how this magically worked out in such a way that you were able to do great things, right? That's it, right? If you can figure that stuff out, you can actually go out of your way and put a face to that thought, like a connection there. Well, then you're going to increase your chances to succeed. Keep in mind, though, folks, that in spite of everything I just said, you can still do everything I just said, and you can still fail. However, right, if you don't do any of those things, you will never succeed.
Exactly.
Right.
And failure, it's not the final thing, right? You can keep learning, you can keep adjusting your circumstance, because what we're saying when we're like lay out the foundation for success, right? It's kind of building a trap for success to fall into. It like catching an animal or something. You got to have the right, everything has to be in place for the success to happen. And if it isn't happening, you got to readjust and see what you should have in place. Until you get to that point, everything's going to feel like a failure, but really it's kind of an experiment. Like we were saying before, it's a numbers game. And it takes time. You can either play more numbers faster or you can play fewer numbers longer.
Yeah.
But if you're willing to play the numbers, it is just a matter of time. And, of course, define your success. Lay out that success trap so that you're ready. And recognizing when success and opportunity comes to you, that's a skill. And that skill isn't one that you can have when you're down on the world and you're feeling pessimistic about everything. You're just not in the right mindset for it. So I think a lot of people fall into a mindset trap. And that's not to poo-poo, like, I don't know, clinical depression or something. That's clinical. It is to kind of alert folks to how much their own mentality plays into standing in their own success. If you see failure and threat all the time, that's all you're ever going to see. And it's going to be hard to recognize and even act on the success when it presents itself.
Yep, you will get in your own way, which, by the way, is rule 4. We were talking about rules 4 and 5 on the AROS. Those are rules 4 and 5 right there.
Get out of your way, recognize success.
Well, get out of your own fucking way is rule 5. Rule 4 is the rest is rain. And the reason why I call it that rule is because anybody that gets mad about how the rain falls is insane. You You can't control that. You just can't. Like, there's no point in being mad about how the rain falls. It doesn't fucking matter. What matters is did you pick the right water buckets? So sometimes it's just not meant for you. You got it. Like, one of the hardest things you're gonna have to accept in this game is some of the stuff you've worked hard on. It's just not for you. It just isn't, right? Not that particular opportunity at that particular place at that particular time, right?
Maybe at a later time.
Oh no, but here's
you've laid down the foundation. But go on.
Well, that's the other thing too. A lot of people don't realize is just like, okay, it didn't work out here the way you were hoping for, but down the road, it might.
Yeah.
Again, that interview I did with her was just to do an interview with her because I thought that'd be really cool. You know, someone local in the area that I didn't know was going to lead anywhere, right? I didn't know. I had no, like, that really wasn't in my thought process at all.
How could you know that she was going to land a deal?
Yeah. So, like, it's just one of those things where you kind of have to look at the fact that, you know, I mean, it just so happened that I had made a good impression. And because I made that good impression, that it opened doors for me. Right. And that's great. I mean, I'm never going to knock my own ability to apparently impress people. That, like I said, it's cool. I'm not like poo-pooing that one little bit. I would honestly say that's played a big part in my success.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, what I would tell anybody is I had talent to back it up, but they would never have given me that chance. All right. And that's where working on your talents do come into play. But if you treat everything as an opportunity to succeed at something you want, instead of, you know, being mad that it doesn't go your way, right? Well, then, you know, you'll suddenly look at things a lot differently. When I've been rejected, although I will admit, I was annoyed at one. I was rejected for a magazine article I wrote, and they asked me to write for them. I was annoyed because I had like 20 things of references, and they said I didn't have enough references. And I was looking at them, it's like, really?
What more? How many more do you need?
Yeah, I was like, that was it, right? It's like, I was like, really? So I had to go, okay, you know what? This isn't meant to be. You know what? I'm just gonna swallow it and thank them for the opportunity. Because really, that's all you can do in that situation. And that's what I did. I didn't go out of my way to try to complain or whine, because that's not going to accomplish anything. They've already made up their decision. That's happened.
Yeah.
So all you can really do is be gracious about it. Like, you're gonna get no's in art and in life. You're gonna get no's all the time.
Thank God for that. Why would you want to be told yes for something that you're not going to work well in?
Yeah. Well, some people seem to like that concept. I don't know why. I don't know why.
Man, tell me straight up that it's not going to work, so I can go make it work with somebody else somewhere else.
Yeah, exactly. It's much better when I have that to go by. But some people, they'll look at you and go, "That's not what I wanted." This. I'm like, no, okay, well. Sometimes it's a blessing in disguise. Sometimes it sucks too. I mean, let's be honest. But, you know, it's one of those things where you just gotta look and roll with the punches a little bit too. Not everything in this life is about you. I was a very hard lesson for my ego at some point. It really, really was. But
no, Josh, everything in life is about me. Okay.
It is? Okay.
Everything. It's all about me.
Okay.
Yeah. Glad we sorted that out.
Okay. you, my sister, will have to have a conversation at some point.
Well, she's gonna have to deal with it. It's all about me.
Okay. Well, you'll forgive me if I go into the corner and just hide. That'll be my strategy on that conversation.
You know, I tell her about it, but that would make it about her, and I just can't have that.
It's like, okay. I just love you, but
I don't mean that, his sister.
Lies. She meant every word.
I meant it.
Yes. I meant every word.
Deal. Sorry.
World is about me. It's all about me. Or something like that.
The world started the day I was born.
Okay. Yes. It's right. It's right. Before me, you were all a figment of some imagination.
Y'all were Schrodinger's world, okay? Didn't exist until I looked at you.
And then suddenly you did exist. And I'm like, oh, okay.
You're so welcome.
It's like, so welcome. It's like, holy crap. It's like, yes. Like,
so, Shani, when are we getting off this air?
No, it's like this. It's like, wow. So that's a big hit. That's like, I can say like, big head. How? How did you do that?
Right? This is an average.
Yes. That's right. It's like big head. It's like no. It's like I don't have an ego. What are you talking about? The world's about me. It's just this.
You wish your head was as big as mine.
That's nah. Kind of dumb. Nah.
How are we doing, audience? Obnoxious? Are we good?
Yeah, that's right.
Had our ego feel here. All right, we're good.
That's right. That's right. We totally did. It's like no more ego. It's like okay. Nope. It's like everything else. Like in life, you live, you learn, and you do stuff, and that's it. That's all any of us can do. And I think this is my last one of Miss ES, but this one, I think when it's all done, it's going to be pretty good.
Yeah.
This one I like the best in terms of the base shapes I did anyway, or I'm much happier with them. I don't.
Are you showing it off right now?
Yes, damn right.
Okay, 1 second.
Not yet. No. Actually, no. Yeah, I'm about. I say that we'll say 5 to 10 minutes from that.
You got it.
My last ES here. Now and then tonight I'm actually gonna. I am going to grab a Bailey's, have a drink of that because this was a very long week.
Wow, look at you letting your hair down.
That's right. That's right. The pants is gonna fly. No, I'm. That's right. Grown ass man can do what I want.
I pay rent. Pants can come off.
That's right. Like so now, like I said, for me, it's about getting another gig like the one I just scored, even one more like this, and rest of my stuff just doing part-time gigs, and I'm good. What's your occupation? I'm a freelancer.
Oh, fuck really, yeah, you are.
That's right. And some people are like, how'd you do it? I decided that I would use my services to solve problems for people, so I would make money that way. And then I'm doing creative stuff too, and my creative stuff superbly takes off. Wonderbar. But if it doesn't, that's okay. I'm just working for me, and I'm doing randomly, weirdly awesome stuff. And that's kind of the goal. It's like at this point in my life, I'm too old to work for other people. Just too old.
I respect a good humble brag, dude.
Yes.
Because I know where it's coming from. It's like all the people who told you can't do it, or it's not realistic, and it's like, you know what? I don't want to say I told you so, but I really do, and I did.
Well, here's the thing. This is the kind of the thing about me on this. And the biggest compliment I got was from a gentleman in Calgary. He goes, if anyone can make a living as a freelancer, it'd be you.
Fuck yeah, dude.
Yeah, yeah. Because you have a chance. Like, you have a legitimate chance. You have the mentality for it.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, and that was what he said. And he's a freelancer himself. So, but it's knowing the fact that, you know, what you are and what you're not. And again, there are challenges to freelancing that I think that
everything.
Yeah, but I think the biggest challenge as a freelancer is again figuring out what you're supposed to do. It's got like one of these wonderful, like, there is no instruction manual to this, really. There are some things of instruction, but not to the degree people think. It's like, there is no instruction manual to this.
You're cobbling it together from like what works for other people and can be applied to your situation.
Pretty much.
Yeah. It's knowing what what you want and what's good for you.
Yeah. That takes a long time to figure out. I think what kills most people about freelancing is now I was fortunate a lot during this time to be, again, supported by family. But at the same time, right, this still would have been inevitably happened because I would have been like, okay. And the universe basically told me this year, it's like, you can't go back to work anymore. You've outgrown this.
Yep.
So you can't do this anymore. So you got no choice now. You got no choice now. So this still ain't quite perfect by any stretch of the imagination. It's time to show it, though. It's time to show. You can keep it. But I think this is the best one we've done. That's it's a lot closer.
Yeah, it's sort of a mix between the two that you've already practiced with.
Yes.
Yeah.
The wings are, I like the wings on this better, but the shape is also a lot better for her.
Your pose, yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot better. It's not it's not perfect. I definitely could spend a lot more time drawing her to get the hang of her. And one of the damn things I'm going to do going forward is I've got to get me some color to try with. I don't know if it's going to be a pencil crayon or but I'm at that point where I need to do some color stuff to kind of just really see how far I can go with that.
Expand.
Yeah, exactly.
I've told you about the bean method, haven't I?
Yes, you have. Yes, you have.
Don't forget the bean.
I will not forget the bean. I will not forget the bean. But it was one of those things where I got to think about what else I'm going to what I am going to do. Give me 1 second here. I'll be right back. It's going to.
Everybody gets to watch me draw now.
So you were talking comic books earlier, right?
I was.
You want to see what Grand Blue Fantasy looks like?
Sure. Let me stop sharing.
That's
a little bit closer. Classic style. Airbrushed.
And that's like Final Fantasy VI, Yoshitaka and Mono style stuff.
Yes.
So it's like one of those things where it's just like, so now I just look at one of these inside here and it's like, I can try. I don't know if they'll be good. But again, it's not the point though. The point is just to try, not to actually go and figure this all out in one step. But folks, like I said, again, we talk comics. So I have become more and more, I enjoy the manga style of comics more and more. And I actually see North American comics becoming more and more manga style as time goes on too.
Yeah, that's where we got a lot of influence.
Yeah.
Well, they're so old with their style. They've been doing it for how long? It's super mainstream.
Well, it's not only that. It's also the fact that I also think that we're at that point now where you got to we're just looking at the fact that as I go and figure out how I'm going to draw this, looking at this and drawing this at the same time, I might not be able to do that because I don't have that much room on my desk here, but we'll give it a college try. If not, I'll go find something online to draw. Yeah, we're going to go something online to draw. That's okay. That's what I'm going to be playing with, folks, is this style right here but it's also just, again, we're talking about technology and we're talking about evolution of the biz. Comics traditionally, how we've made them for the last few years, we know, we're at the point now we're paying $5 or $6 for a comic, like a 22-page comic. I can pay $12 to $15 for a manga that's got hundreds of pages.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's something I wanted to mention earlier, but continue with what you're saying.
Yeah, so I'm seeing mainstream comics are... Kickstarter has, I think, destroyed mainstream comics as well for another very different reason, in that sense that we no longer need to go with a traditional model of getting good books. I broke my so I do Kickstarter privileges sometimes, right? And so I'm Kickstartering another great book because I can.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, right. because I can, and I'll be able to, and I can afford it, right? And that's kind of what I'm looking at and working towards is like, okay, but I'm also looking at the fact like manga is still doing well in this era, in spite of the Kickstarter era, in spite of all these other things. And one of the reasons it's doing so well is I realize it's bang for your buck. Right?
Well,
It's
people have wondered about this for a while now with the internet age. Is our bookstores going to go out of fashion? Are traditional books going to go out of fashion? Will people even do it when they can just get the online version? And there's, the argument of it doesn't really lose its charm. People want to have that physical copy, and it's not just like just for the quaintness of smelling the pages. It's also like they want to hold something in their hands. It's a totally different experience of having a book in your hands versus having it digitally, and people are willing to pay for that. It's so satisfying to have a book collection on your shelf behind you when you're zooming.
Yes. Well, it's also just the fact that I'm drawing the main character. She's actually been in my card game I play as well as a character. She's actually quite powerful in the card game she's in. That's Lyra from Grand Blue. But I mean, it's also like, again, it's coming to the realization that the world is changing and evolving as time goes on. And okay, that was loud. That was really loud there for a second. So not sure what happened there, but
we didn't hear anything over here.
Yeah, I'm hearing myself. I'm quite obnoxious with that. How am I now?
You're fine. I have no feedback.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Again, folks, trained professional right here.
Freelancing.
That's right. But the thing is, right, is yeah, books again, we want experiences. We don't want just sit there and have nothing. We want an actual experience, right? And to do that, I figured out a little trick for emotional resonance. So I'll talk about that at the end of the episode, I think. We'll talk about that. But the thing I've learned, and the thing well, that's cute. That's cool. They did the neck there. It's not. And you go like this. And okay, so there's that. No, I'm just looking at this. I'm looking at the thing. But the thing is, I'm looking at like a manga has hundreds of pages. The paper quality is meh, fair enough. If you want to be, technically, wondering about it, it's like, yeah, it's kind of a meh in that sense. Mm-hmm. But you get a very entertaining full read, right? Without even really trying, right? And the secret to that is, wow, I've gotten really, I get shapes really well. I know it sounds like a really dumb observation, but it's like, hey, I think I get shapes. I could be wrong, but I think I get shapes.
It's contour lines.
What?
You should look into contour line art.
Yeah.
Because that's what you're talking about.
Yeah. But where I was going with this, manga has this you get a big experience. It's a bit of a slower pace, right, than a traditional comic. But you get this like giant epic style story that, wow, that's hard to draw as I expected her to be in that sense. In some ways, anyway. In other ways, she's hard, but
elegance makes something look easy.
Yeah. Well, I don't know how elegant I am, but there is definitely, I have figured out some things for sure, and Others we'll work on that, but the thing like I said, you look at it, you want an experience, and you want it to be worth your bucks, right? You want it to be worth the bucks you're paying for it. And with comics today, considering the price and what you're getting for in the mainstream, it doesn't say there aren't good mainstream books out there. They are, but they're not the audience anymore. Not the same way they were even 5 years ago. And once you realize that, it's like, oh crap, it's a different world, and it really is a different world, you know. So it's like it's an incredibly fun and different experience to realize this stuff. And I'm like, okay, so now I'm looking at comics in a very different light. Because it's like, well, I don't actually need the comics in the same way. Like, I don't have to get my comics in a bookstore the same way. That doesn't mean I don't like a comic shop. The thing about the comic shop is it's the Wednesday release. That's what the comic shops offer. That instant, it's the gratification of that release, and there's definitely a place for that. But what they have to look at too is we've come to a point now where the price of a book is not cheap at all. So if I'm into the book, if I really want to be into the book, then you're gonna have to make it worth my while, because I can go. Your competition is, it's not the other comic in the street. It's a guy on Kickstarter who's going to give you shiny buttons and like unlimited awesome, like, cool prints and creative people, and you get to develop a relationship with the person that's creating the book, right? Which is something you can't do in a comic shop.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, and like, there's pros and cons to self-publishing versus going through a publisher and having them create that physical copy. Typically, when I think of physical comic books, right, I'm picturing it in that Patreon and Kickstarter model, because that's the one that I've seen being really successful for the original creators of the story. And this is what I wanted to mention earlier, right? They have a Patreon that they have honed for years, right? So they have good followers, and they're putting out content that their followers love. And it's like $10 a follower, and you can see these people going into the thousands of followers, right? So they have that monthly support to keep up with their craft. And then on Patreon, they put out, I'm starting this Kickfunder. If you support me now, you get all these cool benefits for being like the first 100 supporters, right? And they have that immediate audience right there because they did the Patreon thing. It's the audience that really supports them. So they're getting paid monthly through Patreon. Their Patreon supporters go to their Kickstarter and chip in like $20, and they get cool benefits. So now this whole product's being made through their supporters' donations, basically, or crowdfunding. And then from there, it's basically just putting out that relationship with the distributors and the sellers. So you can still sell your Patreon backed, your Kickstarter backed physical copy of a comic book in a comic shop without having to go through a big publisher to do it. And local comic shops love that. But you could have this national range if you don't want to just stick to the local. But that's not even if like you don't have to do that. You can just ship everything from your house. So the physical publishing market is there for the Patreon and Kickstarter kind of person, and it's really financially viable. It's just about getting those followers, and that's where I think, yes, there's competition. If you're putting out a story, you're also going up against all the other creatives out there putting up a story, but that's why it's so important to hone your own voice, because your voice is going to be what attracts your specific audience. You're not competing with Joe Schmo. You are being true to you, and you will attract the right people so long as you're putting your stuff out there.
Exactly. So, ladies, would you like to see my first attempt at Lyra from Grand Blue Fantasy?
Let's see, Lyra. Very demure?
Yes.
Yes. That reads, it comes across well, and then her eyes are kind of swirly swell.
Yeah. She's kind of a little
Wow.
scared right now. She's like the most powerful character, though. She's literally summons monsters from another dimension to kick ass. Like, but
naturally,
yeah.
As one does.
As one does, yeah. But so in the card game, she literally they made her and her like giant beast she summons Bahamut in the same set. Her ability is to summon that beast, which basically summons the beast from that. Like it's like that was clever. That was really
that twist. Really the beast is her brother.
No.
Ah, dang.
No. But one of the things about that's again telling stories in different formats. The card game created the experience of her summoning a beast. They made the beast for her to summon, and they gave her a way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, nope, she's actually good. Like she's really, really good. And
yeah, she may seem shy, but plot twist.
Plot twist. She'll destroy you one shot. It's like
my computer's gonna glitch out here in a second. Sorry.
No worries.
Oh, this is gonna suck.
No worries. We can just go to just talking and chatting for a little bit anyway. I get the feeling that I get the feeling that as is, this was already a pretty good drink and draw, and this was a very professional little chat as is was anyway. And
yes.
And it's shorter than average.
We've covered a lot of ground in less time than usual.
Well, yeah.
Yes.
Well, there was no COVID therapy. There was no ethical debates about a medical device. This
True.
time.
Yes. Let's keep it like that.
Okay.
I wasn't have wine this time, so less. What? I didn't have wine this time, so I'm not as long-winded.
That might
surprisingly, because I can monologue.
Oh yeah. What? Hey, it's a useful skill. That's a very useful skill.
I mean, for a talk show.
Oh, it's Sunday. Listen, I like going, between 1 and 2 hours, and I do an okay job of going between 1 and 2 hours, right? And I had some great, like the current like audio, like the next one probably was like the current episodes. I had to break it into 2 parts. Was the longest conversation I had all year.
Wow.
Even longer than one of ours. Like, nope, this was longer.
What?
Yeah.
Wow. Somebody broke our record.
Whoa. I think the longest conversation I've done is Marcio Catalan, a voice actor. We talked for like 4 hours. It was like, wow. Dude. Last time I'll ever do a 3-parter. Like, I'll ever do a 3-parter. Yeah, I enjoyed the conversation a lot. It just, unfortunately for me, it was like, I realized looking back, 2 parts is the max I want to do with anybody, because it's just like, at the end of that, I feel like people, like, I feel like I can get an entertaining conversation out of you in under 2 hours. Yeah. I can get still a really good conversation between hours 2 and 3. It better be damn good after 3. Like, yeah.
Are you thinking about like putting any of your podcasts onto Spotify or something?
Already there.
Excellent.
I'm on every platform practically as is. So ironically, I feel it's the Twitch that has put me over the, like, in fact, I'm doing video stuff now.
Yeah.
My numbers have been just gradually climbing up bit by bit by bit. I still can't get nobody to watch me live on a regular basis. Tears. But people do watch the show, or the people do listen to the show. So I mean, yeah. I'm not gonna like cry about it. I enjoy the communities I'm in, and it will grow here too. I'm not really. It's one of those things. I will break people's wills. They will come watch me. They will.
In time.
That's right. Oh, so how did your book do, by the way?
The kids' book?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's mostly a portfolio right now, so I've been sending it off to publishers. And I did get a response from... Okay, right, so here's how it works. You have your publishers, and if you're an illustrator, of course, authors will relate to this also. Send us your submissions, and if you don't hear from us, we're not interested. But if you do hear from us and we are interested, you'll hear from us within 6 months. Otherwise, we're not interested. Good luck elsewhere. So if you don't hear from them, it's a hell no. If you do hear from them but they don't have a gig for you, it's we'll keep you on file. We're interested, just not yet. And then of course you have your hell yes. So far I've gotten we're interested but not right now, and we've gotten a hell yes, but we can't afford you.
Yeah, I know that problem.
Yeah, right. So both are good problems to have, and then the rest of them have been kind of crickets right now. But that's also why I'm going through. I'm reaching out to agents, to an art agency, because I'm realizing that the ones who say hell yes to me can't afford me, and the ones that can afford me only talk to represented artists. So there's a bunch of publishing representatives for artists, and those are the folks I'm reaching out to.
Well, okay. So let's ask 2 deep thoughted questions then for you, because I depending on how you answer the first one, I'm going to go with the second one. Okay, so we're talking, that's the creative biz. The creative business is when you're submitting for books and stuff like that, they take months/years to find the right home, because just the nature, for whatever reason, the creative end of the business is just slow, in my opinion, slower than it should be. Because it's the world has gotten faster, and creative businesses have not gotten any better at that, right? And they should have a long time ago. My opinion, right? My opinion. But that's me. But while on the same token, you are doing storytelling stuff. You've done comic book stuff. Have you considered advertising agencies for some of the stuff you've done?
I've been looking at them too, because a lot of the agencies also look at marketing and ads. And I'll be honest, I can do it. My current style, my current portfolio doesn't show that I can do it. And to create that portfolio would take more time than it's like that one, you're one shovel full away from finding that gold, right? If I start taking my attention away from my current goal, I could be not doing myself a favor. Oh, hey, my computer came back.
You did. Sort of. So is it okay if I do a gentle pushback on that? It's a slight one. It's up to you. Like, what you choose to do, it's your call. I obviously, I'm not going to tell you if your heart is set on what you want, this isn't it. But I just want to point out something to you, because I have seen what advertisers look for, and you did mention the love of comics earlier on, right? Those storyboards you do for comics and those storyboards you do for ads are not that different. In fact,
I hear that.
Yeah. Right. So I've seen your stuff, like you doing a 4-panel comic, 4 panels, 1 page, would take you approximately all of 3 hours to do. And again, this is about goals. This is why I'm pushing back just a little bit on you, right? All it would take for you, legitimately, if you really wanted to go down that route, would be a couple days, doing like 2 or 3 different things, looking at something that you would be comfortable selling, and coming up with a creative way to tell a story. That would take you all of 2 days.
I think. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Are you talking about comics or storyboards?
They're almost the same thing.
But the difference is where you are in the line of production.
Yes. However, here's the thing. What they care about, what advertisers care about, the same thing that creatives care about, which is, right, telling a story. Right? So, and the thing is, they're very much less is more, right? They can look at your stuff and say, holy shit, she can tell a story. Right?
Right.
And right. So again, If it's not your goal, I understand. But when I hear it wouldn't take you that long to create a portfolio, I'm willing to make a bet you already got the portfolio. All you'd have to do is modify it just slightly, and you'd be there if you wanted to do it that.
It's not a bad third option. I don't feel like I have really gone through my current option
That's
thoroughly enough to walk away from it for the time being.
What? I was just gonna say, I'm not saying you walk away from it.
No, of course not. Like we were saying before, you're laying down the foundations for success. So I don't think I'm at that point yet.
Okay.
I think once I send out my portfolios to these art agencies, and if they all give me a resounding no, then I'll look at what my other options are. But right now, from what I've been able to tell in my market research, there really is a place for me in that publishing world.
Absolutely. No,
yeah.
Absolutely.
It's just about right. So I take art courses a lot, and one of the things, it's like a troubleshooting thing for why you aren't a freelance artist, right? And one of the questions that keeps going back: are you good? Are you sure? Right? Can people see your stuff? Do people know about you?
So, the only reason I bring this to your attention is speed. If you're going in the creative end of things, like especially the creative end, telling stories, those systems are slow. Right? Advertising, on the other hand, those systems are quite faster. Right? And that's the only reason I'm bringing this up, because when I was looking at freelance writing, I get my responses faster. I get paid quicker when I do nonfiction. I get paid way faster.
Yeah.
Right? That doesn't mean I'm not doing fiction. Like, I am launching a book at the end of the month, so I'm certainly doing fiction. But I'm also not rushing. Right? I'm not gonna like push on this really hard, because this just does not move quickly. It just doesn't. But what I can do is, while I'm waiting for that to kind of just happen, I'm going to be pushing out a couple other doors. Hey, listen, I do this stuff. I rock. I'm awesome and possibly made of cheese. Is there something I can do for you? And this sounds like, right, and this is just my inner hustler coming out to play a little bit. But because, again, looking at what you've already have shown me, you already got the portfolio there. All you'd have to do is take what you have and figure out how to sell a product doing it. If you can show that you can do that, and you can do it in a very sleek way, you probably have work relatively quickly. That's all I'm bringing out. All the while, still doing your creative stuff and waiting for them to come in. And then finally, when they do come in, also, you have more leverage now because you're already doing creative stuff for a living.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
And what you're saying is specifically advertising. Is that?
Well, I give you just an example. It could also be nonfiction. If you could like what I'm saying is diversify your search. Go for your goals. But if you know that system is, shall we say, like if this was the race of the tortoise of the hare might get to the finish line in the end, but there's definitely that part of the race where the hare is just running wild, right? The running wild part might be the nonfiction, might be the advertising, might be some other market. But like as a personal challenge, I tried to figure out a way to come up with a creative story about a potato, because if I can do that, I can. No, seriously. Because if I can do that,
that's been done before, Josh, Mr. Potato Head.
It has been done before. How about just a plain old featureless, faceless potato? Can you do it? Can you find? I did it with a jar of dirt just because I wanted to see if I could do it, and I did. Right? Stupid Pirates of the Caribbean, putting that thought in my head. Yep.
They got theirs first, also, dude.
Yes, but if you can do those things, you can tell a story about anything. And if you can tell a story about anything, you can go anywhere.
Yeah, and I'm not knocking the whole idea of like, let's have some variety and let's play that numbers game and see where your audience is so that you can start making money, right? I'm not against that. It's also very different from what the pros have been saying of have a very specific portfolio and show that portfolio to a very specific market. If I were to do what you're saying, what that would mean is multiple portfolios that are very specific, right? I am very flattered that you think so highly of how quickly I can draw things. My competition out there is steep. It is so fucking cutthroat.
So again, this is about self-belief at the end of the day, right?
It's about being good enough. It's not just self-belief. I believe in myself all the time. My competition believes in themselves and they're experienced and they're really good. So I need to match that.
So this is where I'm going to push back again, just slightly. You are good enough.
Well,
I don't care.
You.
No. I'm going to push back just a little bit on this, just a little bit. It's not that you have to draw new things. It's about how you present the things you already have. Right? That's all I'm pointing out to you. Mm-hmm. Again, do what you want. Do not, by all means. But what I basically did when I went into freelance writing was, it's like, okay, what do I already do? I have a big mouth and I talk to people.
Right.
How can I turn that into articles I've written?
Yeah.
Right?
How can I present it differently?
Yeah. And that's all I'm saying with you. You don't really have to draw anything necessarily new. You just have to look at it and go, well, how can I present it differently? Right?
If I were to turn this into an ad, it would have like Ford right here.
It'd be at the bottom left corner. It would be at the bottom left corner. It wouldn't be that. I know why. I know why it'd be at the bottom left corner. I know exactly why. Do you want to know the exact
reason?
Let's hear it. Because when people read, people read basically from the top corner to not quite to the top right corner. Then they read diagonally down to left, and they go all the way to the right, but they don't go all the way down to the left side. This is also why the legal information is almost always there too, because nobody fucking reads that shit or goes down there. It has to be there, so you gotta put it somewhere. But this is why you do it. I've done design classes. I know why how certain things work. It wouldn't actually. So you either have Ford in the top right, you'd have Ford in the top right, or you have it at the bottom left. Probably have the logo at the top right, the legal shit at the bottom left, and then you'd have like your slogan right underneath where the big naga tail is. So that's the difference. So
Well, I hear what you're saying about reading and whatnot. I'm gonna push back on that also because the first thing, people are visual, right? So yes, words are pictures, but they take a little bit more to decipher just an image that is supposed to represent exactly what it looks like, right? So people will gravitate towards an image first, and then they'll gravitate towards the head first, and then towards the eyes. So the first thing they see will be here because I've also designed the hands to go straight there. So that's where they would go. And then if there's nothing else, because I'm probably going to add this light, but if I don't have the light, their eyes would be drawn to this contrast if I did have the light, which is the idea. So it would go here to the center, then to this all the way to the light. And then once they've seen everything in the picture, they would start reading 1, 2, 3, 4 in that zigzag, like you mentioned. Yeah. And then that is comics.
That is also magazines. That is also newspapers. That is also billboards. That is also every design you can think of. And I know this because, again, I took design. So, right? I know this because, again, I took design. And that's pretty much it, right? It's all I'm saying is, this is all I'm saying. You can do whatever the heck you want with your Voldemort Naga. Right? Right? Baldy Naga. That's his name. That's his name. Baldy Naga. Baldy. So you can all I'm pointing out is very often like what we're creating is a matter of imagination. Like as you so eloquently point out, you're thinking about who you're presenting it to, right?
Mm-hmm.
But very often you don't have to. Again, it's also about problem solving, right? Sometimes the best. Like we're just going to talk ads for just a quick second, and then we'll even talk nonfiction for a quick second. Sometimes, right? It's about what problems are you solving. With an ad, it's like, well, I'm trying to get you to buy shit. Okay, so how can I make this more like where does Mr. Naga become very convincing? Like, and Mr. Naga would be a perfect for a drug company commercial. Buy your drugs, right? Buy those drugs. He's totally trustworthy. But Mr. Meet Baldy, the trustworthy Naga. He thinks you should, yes,
Baldy.
Right? He thinks you should be doing meth. I mean, whatever. It doesn't matter, right? But
he wants you on drugs.
Yes, he wants you on drugs. He looks totally villainous enough to do that, right? And so,
oh yes,
or or if you want to go really ghoulish, make this an insurance ad. You don't want to be looking at this guy in court, do you?
Do you?
It's like
I can already see the font for that.
Yeah, exactly. See, right? Doesn't take very much, and we just told two very different stories, right? With what you've already drawn. Now we would do like a nonfiction piece, right? A nonfiction piece is quicker. Is what you're doing, what you're illustrating here, can you put it somewhere where people will pay you to teach them stuff?
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's all about, like I heard this said too, it's about reselling what you have to some degree too. It's a big part of the business that no one really talks about.
Absolutely.
Right? I'm just basically
otherwise
saying,
you're just putting in a lot of energy to get not much back from it every time you want something back.
That's right. So this is
That's
why
not
I'm
an evergreen product.
Yeah. So this is why I'm coming back to, again, going back full circle, right? You already got an image. How many different ways can you use said image? If you get really good at figuring that out, shit, you'll have a license to print money.
Well, right? I have a spreadsheet on my revenue stream of every piece that I make.
Mm-hmm.
So I go through and I list the kind of products I can put it through, or promotional stuff, or the kind of market that it would be attractive to. So yeah, I hear what you're saying. What you're also adding to it that I hadn't thought of is putting it in different portfolios to attract different higher end clients.
Yeah, because you should, right? You've already done the work. Make that shit work for you, right?
Now that's a t-shirt.
Yeah. That is a t-shirt. Right? I actually was thinking like obnoxious t-shirt. Like you've already done the work. Make that shit work for you, right? If you
the front and the back right there.
Yeah, but here's the I guess this is maybe the biggest piece of advice I'll give you for the day. If you can, this took me a long time to figure out, but it's not about the first use you have in mind for it. Can you look at your work and go, what else can I do with it? Because if you can do that, that will put you leaps and bounds ahead of almost everybody out there.
I concur. Have at least, I go for 7 as the magic number. 7 different product ideas or different ideas that you can use for your one work, right? You're going books, audio biz, podcast, right? That's 4. T-shirts if you want.
Obnoxious merchandise is 5. Yeah, that's right. Games.
Promo.
No. That's right. So, be obnoxious, right?
Be obnoxious.
Again, take your the basic piece of advice I give to anybody listening to the show or watching the show is all your work can be put in more than one place. It's having the imagination to see it. Right. So,
absolutely.
Right. And so again, which is why I humbly made the suggestion I did earlier with you.
No, I do appreciate it.
Yeah.
Well, I think we might be at that time. I'm not nearly done. But
well, yeah. So so Mr. Valdi Naga, that's his name.
Yes.
Yes, Mr. Valdi Naga. So that all said, hey, this was fun. So we got, I think, one more in us this year, and that'll be it for the year. Because I get the feeling neither of us are going to want to do Christmas. I certainly am not going to want to do Christmas. So
depends on if we go for the Christmas date. Oh, I stopped sharing. Okay, yeah.
mm-hmm.
We don't have to, but we could go
Yeah.
for December, but no pressure, of course.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we got November coming up. Still,
yeah,
we're in November. So,
do you want to
we'll do a November
sign
one
off before we do dates?
Yeah, we'll do that. Yeah, basically, I think we got for sure one more this year. I don't know if we got two, but we definitely got one more this year for sure. And to everybody watching and listening, this has been a drink and draw. Will not be the last drink and draw. I'm doing two next week. Rodney Fike is my guest on Monday, so we'll be back here. Me and Rodney just had a really fun conversation, and his book Roadkill Rampage is currently on Kickstarter as we speak. Hold on a second, folks, because I got sponsorships and stuff. I'm almost good at what I do.
Oh yes, he's gotta say the sponsors.
So, at least some of them.
What do you do when you level up?
Yeah, I do. Oh, actually, I do it on every audio episode. Definitely, right? I definitely do that. So what I'm going to be doing, folks, is there we go. We're going to do this like this. I found it. So for everybody watching and listening, copy here for sure. All right, copy.
Oh, hey, there we are. Roadkill Rampage right there in the chat.
That's right. But in the chat and in there, it's like they've already hit their goals, which is awesome. We're going to try to drum them some more success. If you like roadkill, horror, apocalyptic stuff, this is definitely for you.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. You just drew Voldemort the Naga. So I mean, yeah, it's totally your jam. You should definitely check it out. But
you had me at roadkill.
Yeah. So they're possums too. Yes. Anyways, another chat. But like I said, Monday I'm going to be doing him. Thomas Davis is my Drink and Draw Friday. They'll be live on Facebook and on here Twitch for sure. I'm almost back to doing schedules by the month and again now because I'm stable for the time being, and that's good. I probably got one more move in me at some point in the springtime. In the meantime, I'll have the mountains to keep me comfortable, which would be like,
oh God, I'm turning green. Stop it.
If you follow my Instagram, you'll actually see the pictures I've been taking of them. You could actually see what I wake up to every day, and you're like, I want to, but I don't at the same time. It's like I hate you.
It's a goal for me, and will it make it or break it for me? I don't know. We'll see how I feel about it tomorrow.
Yes, you'll be like, okay, show me your Instagram, and then
I'm ready. Crap, I saw it.
You'll be like, I hate you. I hate you so much.
I can't go on the live stream next month. I saw the mountains.
No, you're like, okay, so at that point you'd be like, okay, there's one condition I do the live stream. Bring me up there. Show me or something like that, right?
Please.
Yeah. Now the next time you definitely come on the show, we'll have to talk about your mountain desires. So why do the mountains call you? Because here's the hilarious part. My dad's always wanted to live in the mountains. I've done it twice. I've done it twice.
I will be bragging right there with you when my time comes. Okay? It's just a matter of time.
So I'm looking for mountains and beach at the same time. So I might actually end up in Hawaii at some point, in which case I'll be like, cool. I'll be on the beach and I'll be like, yeah, peace out. I'm done. I'm in it. But no, so I got those coming up. Stay tuned. Like I said, guys, at the very beginning of the podcast, I have a course now. I'll be talking more about that in depth tomorrow. Thursday, I got some other stuff to do. I can't say just yet. And then Alice 1 comes out December 1st, which is like cool. And then, yeah, so I've already kind of started to do some promotion on that, but I'm hoping to have the official pre-order up. I'm hoping by Monday, actually, so people can go order the book. How about you? What's coming up for you?
I am almost done with Inktober. Thank fuck. Oh my God. so much. And once that's over, I can go back to my usual painterly style. But Inktober has been really helpful in helping me figure out how I want my comic style to be. So I will hopefully be putting more effort into my comic while I reach out to publishers and agents. So what's coming up for me? The end of Inktober, hopefully, definitely some kind of contract deal and more comic work. And I'm also in the talks with a storyboard that I promised I would do, and I've been really busy, but maybe I'll work on it coming up soon. So, more good stuff.
I guess you got a book to recommend to you when we get off the air. So for everybody watching this thing, it's Shani the Art Bar. She's gonna be back at least one more time this year. I already know I'm gonna be drawing next month just to see how much how if I can make her greener than the screen back here. I already know I'm gonna be not just any mountains, not just any mountains either. The ones I've been taking. It's like I hate you. I hate you so much.
I've shown too much of my hand here.
Yeah, I know. Well, so did I. It was good fun. All right, folks, that's it for the night. I have a great weekend. I will be back Monday with a new show, and then yeah, it's gonna be fun. I'm gonna have a crazy week lined up. I'm just waiting to finalize one more thing, and then I'll have my next week's lineup all nailed down. It's gonna be amazing. Stay inspired, everybody. Keep shining in the dark, and I'll be back next week.
Ooh. Bye, everybody. Thanks for watching.